Hi everybody, Geraldine Rose here with another Crafty Canuck Halloween card for the kids. Well, we got another Instagram hop that has Halloween for the theme this month. And hey, you know I'm up for it because I love doing Halloween cards. I started out for my old portion with the Trinity Stamps Moon Layers, and I also grabbed out my oxides. So the colors this month were black, orange, kind of a lighter purple, and kind of a maroon burgundy. I've grabbed out the oxides in those tones. I started out with a pretty smooth blend on the bottom, and as I bring in the orange up, I'm starting to swing it in rings around the moon. The same you can see with my aged mahogany. I'll do the same with wilted violet and then the black soot around it because I'm trying to cause those moondog rings. So I'm using like a drag the brush technique in a circle rather than swirling it in teeny circles back and forth in either direction, which is more of a blending situation. Of course, you have to have the black soot on there somewhere because it's a Halloween card, right? So I've taken the mask off and I'm just taking a little bit of my glue eraser to that one little sticky part of tape, putting the stencil back down for the moon layers portion of it. I'm coming in with what's left on my brush for the lighter yellows and oranges tones, and I'm going over with those two layers. And you can see that up at the top, I had a little bit of the wilted violet or the aged mahogany that kind of went over the moon as the mask is just slightly shifted, but that doesn't matter because you can actually incorporate it as one of your shadows, right? So this is where I'm bringing those tones around again to blend it and a little bit of the yellow, because otherwise your moon as well, the portion that's white, it's just going to be too white. You want it to have that kind of creamy tone to it. Masked it off again. Now we're bringing in a little bit of splatter. We'll tap on some solar spray, and then we'll bring in some of the iridescent spray and we'll tap that around the moon too. We want it more up the top because you want it to be for the stars. Because these are distress oxides as well, hey, let's bring a bit of water in. So I sprayed onto my hand and then flicked off so that it would also give another type of star that's in the background and some other textures. For the die cuts, we have the Crafty Canuck Tall Cats, the Birch Tree. We also have two of the Sizzix, the Gothic and the Vault ones from Tim Holtz's collection. I did those in like oranges for the pumpkin and blacks and grays for the others. This is a gloss black paper for the Fright, for the sentiment that we're using. This portion, you can see that I placed the paper down on top of the eyes over the die cuts and ran it through upside down so it's cutting up into my raunchy cutting plate so that I could see where I was placing it. Now a little bit of black soot just over the birch trees. You know how they have a speckledy appearance to them in the back. So they're going to be set aside now to dry. We'll work on assembling the die cuts. Now for the eyes for the kitties, I knew that they were going to be teeny, the pieces going in. On the back, I put a little bit of painter's tape, flipped them over, and then, of course, me being a tangent type of girl, jumped to the Fright, had to assemble that with its shadows behind, and then jumped to the pumpkin and I put a little bit of dye ink, the fresh dye ink around the outside edges and put its stem on. Now I'm jumping back to the kitty cats. A little dab of glue in each of the eyeballs, and each of them had a slightly different color of eye. So we had gold and yellow and orange, and we're bringing those all in, and they're all a different size for the eyes, and you can also tilt them for how you want the little iris portion to go in for those kitties. So it gives them each a different expression, and they are adorable, this Crafty Canuck stuff. All right. For the front, I wanted to put a little bit around the top and the bottom of the Fright. So I brought in Bats and Cats from the Penny Black Bats and Cats, and then I reused the O and the H up at the top for the O. On the inside, since I've got my Misty out, I am using the picket fence on pins and needles for the sentiment. Started out with purple tone, had a whoopsie there. Carpal tunnel starting to act up again. And then I brought in a little bit of black for the bottom portion. I went over that again to just deepen it up. And then you can see I'll take my brush and I'll swipe off the top, and then I'll just tap with the brush on the bottom so that it's not a harsh line between the top and the bottom. It will cause it to blend a little bit. All right. And for the very top, for that maroon tone that we wanted, I just tapped in a little bit just along the edge of the stamp, and you can just see it when you're holding the card in person. So we had one leftover kitty, and we're going to tuck him on the inside. So he's sitting there, and then he needed to be smiling because he's going to be a Cheshire type of kitty. And so I drew in his mouth with my gel pen in white, and then I thought, oh, he needs whiskers and whisker dots. And so I brought in the black one and I gave him those as well. Now the birch trees on the front, you can see I had them only glued at the bottom at first, and then I was tucking all the extras in behind so that they would show. That's why the tree, you can see a couple spots there. It looks like they're floating. And so once I've got the back ones behind, I tucked the top ones over top of them. And this is starting to put the kitties in. So you can see I'm hanging them off the bottom right now, squashing them down. You gotta have the squish in there. And the kitty on the other side, I put two on that side, because the moon is situated more to the right and I wanted more kitty on the left to balance it out. Pumpkins in the back. And hey, your die cuts, I cut the tails off because they would have hung down. And what I did was I tucked them into our composition so that they imitate the swirl going on with the pumpkin stem, right? And here we are just trimming the edges off so that the panel will fit nicely on our A2 card, which is Nina cardstock, of course. Gluing the fright down in the middle of that. And you can see I haven't quite stamped the O and the H down yet. I wanted to make certain that I got this in the right spot first. We have two bats because it has to tie in with the bats and cats theme, right? So yeah, there they're going. And this is me just making decisions like, oh, where am I going to put this thing? I wanted them to mimic where the moondog rings were going. All right, we will glue that panel on the front and set an acrylic block on top of it. Luckily, it went into place. Yay! Right away. I didn't have to wiggle it around too much. And a custom stamp on the back. Again, fingers crossed, scrap and stamp. We'll be able to maybe get them this year. And here, these guys need their little kitty whisker dots as well, too. So we're using the gel pen on the front just to get those finishing touches in. And that's the finished card. So it's got the shiny fright and the shiny whisker dots and whiskers and the beautiful moon glow in the back and the kitties on there and the bats and the pumpkin. So you all get into your craft room and have some fun. Make some Halloween cards for the kids, right? Thanks to everybody for using my Scrap and Stamp affiliate links and subbing and liking. We'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.